Hello, everybody, and welcome into day 7 of Jaws Week. And my goodness, it's finally here. The final day. We've talked about the Jaws movies, we've talked about the Jaws novels, we've even talked about the Jaws board games. And now in today's video, because there's only one day left, and I've also run out of Jaws shirts in case you can't tell, I'm not wearing any. But don't worry, I'm still rocking my Jaws Sakis, and I also got some Jaws undies on. So, but you're not going to be seeing those on camera, only on my OnlyFans. But anyways, so with the final video of this series, I want to talk about the Jaws video games and Jaws the Ride. So sit back and relax, and let's get started. When it comes to the Jaws series and video games, there's actually quite a few of them out there. I only own 4 of these games and have played one of them out in the wild. Some of these games are hard to come by because they were released on some old computer systems that I just don't own, so I can't really play them. Same with the mobile games, as they are no longer available in the App Store, so I won't really be reviewing them. But I will still mention them because this is Jaws Week after all, and I don't want to seem like I am missing something. Before we get into the video games based on Jaws, I want to briefly talk about the games that actually appear in the Jaws movies. The most notable one we see happens in the first movie during the 4th of July parade, where we see somebody playing this game known as Killer Shark, a game that was released by Sega in 1972. I never had the chance to play this one, but I always wanted to. The game is a first-person shooter where you continuously fire upon a bunch of sharks. We also see some other arcade games, but I can't really make out any of the names aside from this game called Wild Cycle, where it looks like you drive around a cycle and stuff, and that's about it in terms of Jaws 1. As for Jaws 2, we see that during a scene where Chief Brody comes home that in the background, Mike and Sean look to be playing some sort of Pong console. After Googling it online, they appear to be playing Pong on a console, and according to this thread, it's something known as the National Semiconductor Adversary. There's also some other games the kids are playing in the background at the bar that I can't quite make out, and you know what? I'm really fucking reaching here. Let's just get to the actual games based on Jaws. Okay, so starting at the very beginning, things are a little bit muddy in terms of information on some of these older games and when they were released. Trying to find a fully comprehensive list of every Jaws video game is a little bit tricky. During the early days of gaming, things weren't as well organized as they are now. While looking online, I came across a few videos that mentioned that the very first Jaws video game released in 1983 for the ZX Spectrum, known as Jaws Revenge, which by the way is kind of funny seeing that the game's title would end up being used for the 4th movie in the franchise. In case you're wondering, the ZX Spectrum was an old school 8-bit computer where the games would come on these little cassette tapes. The gameplay shows the shark just going up and down trying to avoid getting shot. If you touch the sides or the land or anything like that, you wind up dead. Kind of reminds me a bit of the game Silver Surfer. Next up on the list of games in 1983 is Jaws 3D on the Tomitronic. What the hell is the Tomitronic? Well, this commercial will show you.
The astonishing Tomitronic 3D games. 3D thundering turbos. Only the most courageous driver can win. And 3D Sky Attack. Invading UFOs threaten to destroy a planet. They must be stopped. Tomitronic 3D games. Packed with 3D action. Only from Tomy.
It's kind of like the Nintendo Virtual Boy and a precursor to the VR headsets we see today. In terms of the Jaws game, from what I understand, this was an exclusive game released only in Japan as a tie-in to the movie Jaws 3D, and is just the same game as Tomy's Shark Attack game. I kind of discovered this one last minute, but I would like to check it out at some point and experience the effect of playing this game in person. Following this game is Jaws the Text Adventure, released in 1984, once again for the ZX Spectrum. In this game you control the shark and you play by typing in various commands and then you see what happens next. Pretty exciting stuff, right? To be honest, this one looks pretty forgettable, so we'll just move on. Next up is Jaws the Computer Game, released in 1989 by Screen 7. This was released on various platforms including the Amiga, Commodore 64, and of course our good old friend the ZX Spectrum. In this game, the main goal is to go around as a diver fighting off all sorts of sea creatures in a quest to gather these 4 main pieces to create the weapon to kill the shark. Looks like it could have made for an enjoyable game. Just wish I could play it. There was also another Jaws game released in 1989 by Starsoft Development Laboratories for the Apple II computer. With this one, it looks like you play as Quint, and the mayor tasks you with hunting sharks for money and such. I honestly don't know. It's hard to even find information on this game, and that's kind of one of the big problems with a lot of these old Jaws computer games. At least with the console stuff, it is much easier to keep track of. Okay, so I mentioned what I think are all the Jaws computer games, which, like I said earlier, I do not own, nor have I ever been able to play them before. So let's jump into the iOS area. This game is known as Jaws Revenge, which is the same title as the 1983 game for the ZX Spectrum, and in a way it is a very similar looking concept. I actually think I do remember playing this game back in 2011 and remember having fun with it. Sadly though, this game is no longer in the App Store, which is a real shame, although the trailer is still online and tells you how to play it and what the goals are. Basically, the controls are touchscreen and you move around controlling Jaws, devouring everything in your path while upgrading along the way. For my vague memories of playing it, I remember it being an enjoyable mobile game, for the most part at least. On to the next mobile game, and the last one as of now, is a game known as Jaws I.O. This was released all the way back in 2019, and like the other mobile Jaws games, is sadly no longer around to play. Unlike the other mobile Jaws game, I didn't get the chance to play this one, but in the game you're either the boat crew or the shark where you're around eating as many things as possible. You can upgrade your character and also play as other sharks and such. Seems straightforward enough, and looks like it could have been fun. Okay, moving on to the next Jaws-related game is Jaws Pinball as part of Pinball FX. Now, while I haven't played the Jaws version of this, I have played the Godzilla vs. Kong ones, and that was a lot of fun. Instead of playing on an actual pinball machine, you're playing them through the console. The idea of pinball is to use the flippers to hit the ball and score as many points as possible without the ball falling into the drain. In terms of the Jaws version, this has a voice actor who plays Quint that talks to you as you play and attempt to get a high score, and hit the ball to activate various minigames and such. You keep playing the game until the ball falls into the drain. Digital pinball games are fun, but I much prefer the actual pinball machine. It provides a much more immersive experience, which thankfully I did have the opportunity to play once on the actual Jaws pinball machine at a bar I went to once. The machine features clips and voiceover from the movie, as well as different modes for the game and such. The design of it looks great as well. The rules are the same as the digital one. It's simply just pinball, but made more awesome since it's a Jaws one. If you get the chance to, I would definitely recommend giving it a shot if you like playing pinball. With that being said, that covers all the Jaws games I don't own and haven't played aside from this pinball one, and that iOS one from like 15 years ago. So let's jump back into the ones that I do own so I can really talk about those ones. Okay, so we talked about those games since I don't own them, but I wanted to briefly mention them, as well as the pinball thing since I also don't own that, but I did get to play it once, like last year or something. Now let's get into the games that I actually own. So these are the actual console Jaws video games that you can pick up online or something that in kind of a reasonable manner. So with that being said, let's begin our journey where we talk about a game that's, well, quite frankly, not very good, with Jaws on NES. Okay, so Jaws on NES was released all the way back in 1997 and is a game made by everyone's favorite publisher, LJN. In the game, the idea is to start in one port and sail to the other. Along the way, you'll randomly hit something and turn into the scuba diver, where you fire against various enemies such as jellyfish, little sharks, and stingrays, which sometimes spawn these seashells which you're going to want to collect as they act as a bit of a currency in this world. After that, you're back on the boat where you continue to sail, at which point you'll hit something random again, and repeat the process. Think of it kind of like when you're playing Pokemon, you're walking in the long grass, at which point you hit something and are forced into battle. This is a bit of a similar process to that. So you fight these enemies and you go back and repeat the same process, and it starts to get a little dull from there. Occasionally while you are sailing, Jaws will show up, at which point the game will say, "You have hit Jaws." So you gotta fire everything at Jaws until it goes away. But after your first encounter, you'll soon realize that you're just not going to be able to defeat Jaws fully. You can fire everything you can, but it barely depletes its health. That's when the shells come into play. You have to go through the other ports and use the shells to upgrade your character and be a better fit to fight Jaws. You can also get a sub at some point to utilize, which gets you a bit of an extra protection from hits before it goes away. There's also these bonus levels where you can use a plane to drop bombs on jellyfish, which is a weird thing to say out loud. Given the game was released around the time of Jaws the Revenge, I like to imagine this is Michael Caine as Hoagie dropping these bombs. You can also control the boat to drop bombs, but that's very briefly. So eventually when you're upgraded enough, you can knock Jaws' health down to 0, which will take you into probably the most difficult section of the game, where you have to pull a Jaws the Revenge and ram that fucking boat right into the shark and stab it. Yes! Fuck yeah! Fuck you, you stupid fucking shark! Ugh! So you kill the shark and basically fly away, and that's pretty much the game. It's a pretty quick one, but isn't all that exciting and gets a little repetitive. It's not the worst thing I've played. It's actually one of LGN's better movie games they made. At least it's playable, but it really isn't one of my all-time favorites. Also, as I was in the middle of making this video, I did find out about an upcoming remaster and enhanced version of the game that is set to be released sometime in 2026. That'll be released for the Switch and PS5. It looks to expand upon this game, and maybe it will be a little bit more exciting too. So I am curious to pick that up next year when it releases. Anyways, on to the next game. The next game may very well be the worst video game I've ever played. Universal Studios Hollywood Theme Park, what is this called? Universal Studios Theme Park Adventure. This fucking game, Jesus Christ, let's roll the footage. This game is absolutely atrocious. Generally one of the worst video games I have ever played. In the game, you play as some kid who goes to have fun at Universal Studios, but the game seems to forget the idea of fun because it's actually the opposite of that. It's misery is what it is. So you start the game out with Woody Woodpecker and not exactly knowing what to do. You try and move around, it's hard to figure out where to go. Why does everything have to be these awful stationary camera angles that make it hard to navigate this environment? So eventually, after a while, you figure out you can't move around, and then you get the map, which might be the most useless map in existence because the sense of direction of this game is absolutely terrible. Let me show you an example of what I went through in trying to capture footage of this awful fucking game. Alright, look at how awful this map design is. Ready? Okay, you see this? I'm holding X, so you'd think if I go left, I'd go left, right? In the corner right over here. Watch this. Ready? I'm gonna go left right here. Off the shitty design. And ready? I went fucking right! I went left and I went right! That makes no fucking sense! So the concept of this game is to go around this shitty map and try out all the various minigames, pick up trash to exchange points, and collect letters. Some of the attractions are completely useless. Look at Waterworld, for example. All it is moving to a different seat and seeing the same couple of seconds of unimpressive footage from a different angle. Why even have this in the fucking game? It's completely useless! Okay, let's talk about the main reason I got this game was to play the Jaws level, and boy do I feel ripped off. The minigame is pretty lame. So basically the idea is to go around the orca and throw an object at the shark as it swims to a certain section. There's a little indicator on the map icon to indicate where the shark will strike next, but I was confused at first because the radar and the ship damage indicator are kind of in the opposite directions of one another. Why not have them facing the same way? It would make it so much easier to follow. But these game designers suck and want to make it as frustrating as possible. So anyways, there are two ways the minigame ends. The first is if the shark eats all the orca spots, you lose. If you hit the shark enough to reduce its life down to 0, then congratulations, you win the minigame and get rewarded with a bunch of points. How exciting, huh? Now, even though Jaws was the main reason I got this game, I did want to check out some of the other minigames. I mean, I bought the fucking game, I might as well try the rest of it, but there's just one fucking problem. You can't get to the other rides. Why can't you get to the other rides? Because you need to purchase a fucking hat. Why would I need to purchase a hat to ride the other rides when I'm already inside the park? Okay, so I get the hat for the Back to the Future ride after spending what feels like forever trying to get it. I get to play it. Thankfully, it is better than the Jaws minigame with the goal to hit Biff with your car, but I gotta say, the guy playing Biff sounds absolutely nothing like Thomas F. Wilson.
Yeah! What are you doing?
It sounds so bad. The guy sounds like a... What's the word I'm looking for, Biff?
Butthead.
Thanks, Biff. So after trying for a while, I do finally manage to beat the minigame to get a bunch of points. Then from here, I gotta navigate my way back to purchase another hat. But the map is so fucking useless that you can't figure out which direction you're supposed to go in. So you know what I did? I ran out of patience and I shut off this fucking game. I don't see a reason to torture myself any further. I only bought it for the Jaws minigame, and I feel like I was ripped off even for that. This is genuinely the worst GameCube game I have ever played, and just one of the worst video game experiences I've ever had in general. Do yourself a favor and skip this pathetic piece of garbage. This game, Universal Studios Theme Park Adventure, I always keep forgetting names because it doesn't really fucking matter, is the worst GameCube game I've ever played in my life. It's terrible. Don't play it. Don't torture yourself with it. It fucking blows. What's the next one? Ooh, arguably the most famous of the Jaws video games, Jaws Unleashed. Let's talk about this one. Well, we went from one of the worst video games to feature Jaws to arguably the best video game to feature Jaws with Jaws Unleashed. The game was released all the way back in 2006 for the PS2 and Xbox. I remember my cousin bringing it over and we stayed up all night playing the hell out of this game. As a huge Jaws fan, this game was a bit of a dream come true for me. Finally, I can play as the shark in a bit of an open world setting and just attack everything on sight, and it has some entertainment value to it. It felt like Grand Theft Auto, but with Jaws. However, the game is not flawless. It has some issues. The big one is with the camera, especially if you're in a tight corner. If you're someone like me who gets nauseous from first-person shooters, you might experience those effects here and have to stop to recuperate. So in the game, you of course play as Jaws in a bit of an open-world setting of sorts, where you swim around, eat things, and complete missions to advance the story. Yes, this game does indeed have a story mode to it. In a way, it kind of feels like the unofficial Jaws 5 movie. The game is set about 30 years after the events of the first film, and we see that Amity Island has really evolved since then. They made some deals with some big corporations, they have their own SeaWorld type place now. Things seem to be going okay, until you as the shark show up to unleash some hell. In terms of the humans, we do follow an older Mike Brody, who is now a marine biologist, as well as Mayor Vaughn Jr., who is just as negligent as his dad. I do like that it takes some concepts from the films and does some more exciting stuff with it. During my Jaws 3D review, I mentioned how I wanted to see the shark cause a bit more chaos at SeaWorld, and here I actually get to live out that idea by pretty much destroying this park and getting to fight other sea creatures such as the killer whale. As the game progresses, you can level up the shark's abilities, which will become helpful later on. The level design and graphics for the time look pretty nice, although we could definitely use some sort of remaster for this game. I also enjoy the more goofy aspects of the storyline stuff. Plus, I like some of the creativity with the boss battles with the shark. At one point, you even get to fight a giant colossal squid, which in a way feels like a crossover between Peter Benchley's novels Beast and Jaws. By the way, does anyone remember that TV movie adaptation of Beast that aired in the late 90s? I remember it used to be on TV all the time when I was a kid. Maybe I'll cover that someday in case anyone's interested. Okay, so that was Jaws Unleashed, and overall, it's not half bad of a game. It's definitely got some issues with it, but in terms of a video game where you're actually like Jaws, it's pretty cool with some of the stuff that you can do. You got zero missions, you have boss battles, you get to kind of have like an open world type feel, you get to kill all sorts of people in violent ways. It's got a goofy storyline to kind of accompany it with the mayor and all that. It's, you know, as a kid I really liked it, but as I gotten older it's kind of less impressive, and trying to play it, I get motion sickness with some of the camera angles, which are very difficult at first to kind of get around. It does get a little bit better as you kind of play along with it, but overall, you know, not a half bad game. So with that being said, let's flip this one away and move on to the final game. So the final Jaws video game is none other than Jaws Ultimate Predator. And no, this isn't a game about Harvey Weinstein, so let's talk about this one. Okay, so now we're on to the final Jaws video game with Jaws Ultimate Predator. This was a game released on the Wii and 3DS all the way back in 2011. It kind of flew a bit under the radar in terms of Jaws video games. In fact, I didn't even know this was a thing until years after it had already been released. Jaws Ultimate Predator kind of feels like a lesser version of Jaws Unleashed. Now, it isn't really a sequel to that game per se, it's more so just a standalone game, but given each game's close proximity of release, they are worth comparing. In this game, you are once again Jaws going around on various missions, but visually it feels like a bit of a downgrade compared to what we saw previously in Jaws Unleashed. Once again, this time around, you get to upgrade the shark and such as you progress through the game by eating sea creatures and collecting various items. You even got some fun little combo fighting moves to utilize against these various sea creatures. Plus, if you do things like eat certain types of jellyfish, you gain some unique abilities such as being able to slow down time and such. The game does have some of the same issues as Unleashed did with the camera, and like I said before, if you're someone who gets motion sickness from playing video games, then you might be feeling it a bit after playing this one. There is at least a large variety of creatures and bosses to face off against, which utilize the Wii Remote in some sort of quick time event type thing. The boss battles range from mechas to a kraken to even a fucking megalodon shark. How did the shark get in there? Well, that's where the game's storyline comes in. It kind of pulls elements from Jurassic Park in a way, which I will give the game credit in that its storyline is a lot crazier than that of Jaws Unleashed. In this game, you have this evil corporation known as Paleoco, run by this asshole named Jeremiah Batstone, who is trying to use cloned sea creatures from the past to take over the world. Remember all that crazy weaponized dinosaur stuff they tried to do in the Jurassic World sequels? Well, this asshole tried to do it first. This also, in a weird way, kind of makes Jaws the hero of the story, as Jaws is saving the world in the process by stopping this evil corporation, which I thought was kind of a neat twist to things. I do think that overall the game does feel like they cheapened out a bit compared to Jaws Unleashed. For example, the cutscenes are all just still images with voiceover as opposed to fully animating them. Jaws Ultimate Predator had the opportunity to learn from Unleashed and improve upon the game, and it honestly didn't for me. I don't think it's a bad game per se, but it definitely could have been a lot better. And done. Okay, so that was Jaws Ultimate Predator, and it's kind of similar to Jaws Unleashed. The level design isn't like the best looking. It kind of has the same issues where I have like the motion sickness problem. Now, you also have the cinematics too, which just feel kind of cheap with, you know, the voice acting not being all that strong and all the cinematics just being kind of still images. It felt like they kind of went the low end in terms of the effort on it, but it is better than some of the other Jaws games, and at least it's not Jaws Universal Studios adventure piece of shit. So, all in all, if you're a Jaws fan, I'd say check this one out, check Jaws Unleashed, but I think Jaws Unleashed is probably the best one. So, with that being said, that's it in terms of the Jaws video games, and I guess that leaves only one final thing to talk about, and that is none other than Jaws the Ride, so stay tuned. Okay, the time has come to finally conclude Jaws Week by talking about Jaws the Ride, which can be found at
Universal Studios. Cha-ching.
Come on, you knew I had to include that reference at least once in this video. But anyways, I have to confess something that makes me very sad. I've never been on Jaws the ride before. I've only been to Universal Studios once, but that was the Hollywood version, not the Florida version where the main ride was located. Now, I am aware that there is a version of Jaws the ride that still exists in Japan that had opened up in 2001 and still runs to this day, but sadly Jaws the ride no longer exists here in the States. Maybe if I'm lucky, I'll one day be able to go visit Japan and check out the ride in person, hopefully before they decide to close that ride down too, but only time will tell. Anyway, so before we talk about Jaws the ride in Florida, we have to take a trip all the way to California where the inspiration for the ride began on the Universal Studios Hollywood Studio Tour, a tour which I also didn't get the opportunity to go on. I really need to get out more. Anyways, on this tour there's a section dedicated to the movie Jaws, and as you drive through the Amity set portion, an animatronic shark pops up. This little moment here is what inspired Jaws the ride to open up at Universal Studios Florida, but it would be a number of years before this attraction would actually open up. The original Jaws ride opened up in Universal Studios Florida in the summer of 1990, but much like the making of the original movie, the making of the original Jaws ride ran into a lot of problems, ranging from malfunctions with the animatronic sharks, environmental hazards, and there was even an incident where a man accidentally fell into the water during the ride and was nearly eaten by the sharks in real life. But it became clear to Universal that the original ride was just not working, so they shut it down and the ride went through some major changes. Eventually the ride would reopen properly a few years later, with some changes made to it throughout, including the shark's demise. This did prove to be a huge success for Universal, as the Jaws ride became one of their most successful attractions.
It's Jack Stone, and we're shark hunting here at Universal Studios, where it looks like a great night for the great white. You guys scared? We're definitely in hot water now. No survivors. And you thought this only happened in the movies. That's what I thought. So catch Jaws at Universal Studios. One ride and you're hooked.
The concept of the ride is that in the world of Jaws the ride, the movie Jaws was a work of fiction based on the real-life shark attacks that hit Amity Island in 1974. However, after the shark attacks, tourism on Amity Island was driven down, given people's fear of sharks, so a local guy named Jake Grundy decided to start boat tours on the island, which to help drive up tourism, only for another shark to emerge. Guests at the park would board the ride as an actor playing one of Jake's skippers would take them on a boat tour all around Amity where various shark attacks took place. However, things soon go wrong as the shark begins attacking the tour boat, and it becomes up to the skipper to get everyone to the dock safely. It's a fun idea for a ride, and having somebody portray the skipper and interacting with everyone made the experience a lot more personal for the guests. The ride only lasts a couple of minutes, but there's plenty of mechanical sharks to see. There's even a point where the shark attacks you while you're in a boathouse, which sounds like fun. Eventually the shark is defeated after it bites down on some cables, much like in Jaws 2, and meets its demise. After that, the skipper asks everyone to keep this whole thing under wraps as the guests make their way back safely to the dock and exit the ride. As someone who has only experienced this ride through videos online, it looks like a really fun time, and seeing all the technical stuff that went into making this ride a reality was quite cool. But sadly in 2011, Universal Florida announced that they would be permanently shutting down the Jaws ride and tearing it down to make way for a new attraction. Then in January of 2012, the ride officially closed, and it was then Avada Kedavra to make way for more Harry Potter stuff, much to a lot of Jaws fans' disappointment. While the original ride is no longer with us, its memory still lives on with plenty of tributes throughout the park. Plus, you can still take photos by the hanging shark statue and pick up some memorabilia of the once iconic ride. It may no longer be with us, but the joy that ride brought to so many people over the years by bringing the world of Jaws to life created so many great memories that will last forever. So there you have it. That's Jaws the ride, and this doesn't feel right, does it? We can't end Jaws week like this. I can't end talking about Jaws the ride without really getting the perspective from somebody who's actually been on the ride. Somebody who knows what it's like. Somebody who can pass that experience on to me in some way, shape, or form. Somebody who... That's it. I can't end the video like this. I gotta find somebody. Somebody I know who's been on Jaws the ride. Somebody who's the biggest Universal Studios fan I know personally. Let's go track him down.
come right to my head, wherever we may roam, nor land nor sea or home. I can't remember the rest of the lyrics of this song. Show me the way to go home.
Hi, Jack.
Oh, hey Sean.
What are you dressed as?
Oh, I'm dressed as the skipper from the Jaws ride. Even though there is no Jaws ride, it's only in Japan and Hollywood. We got gypped.
Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. Kind of why I'm here. I was looking for somebody who's been on the Jaws ride since I haven't been fortunate enough to experience it. And as a Jaws fan, it's my biggest disappointment in life. So, can you tell me about it?
Why, yes, Sean. I can tell you all about the Jaws ride. You want to go on my ride? I'm an adult. I am an adult. Okay, folks, keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times as we go through Amity on this wonderful boat tour. We're just going to get the go-ahead from Chief Brody. Chief, are we clear to go?
This is Base. You're cleared for departure, Amity 6. Have a good trip.
All right, let's go. We're going off this strong journey. So, welcome to Amity, the great town. Amity, as you know, means friendship. And back in 1975, 50 years ago, that bad boy shark Jaws came and ravaged this town. How many of you have seen the movie Jaws? Yeah, you over there, you fanboy, you. But yeah, as you can see, the town is wonderful. On this side, you can see Chief Brody's house. And by the end, you see the shed where Captain Quint is with the orca. And those two wrangled up that shark a long time ago. Although poor Quint, he never made it. Rest his soul. And then over here, we're going to see the Matt Hooper Research Institute that was founded back after 1983 when Brody's sons... Okay, folks, give me a second. Let me contact Base. Base, what was that? Did you hear from Amity 3?
10-4, we copied. He can't be too far away. He was headed back in. We're picking up his distress signal now. Keep an eye out for him. I'll call Chief Brody. Base clear.
Base clear. We'll keep you posted. All right, folks, stay calm. I think we should be okay. Oh, no. Oh, Base, Amity 3 is sinking. I don't see any survivors. I don't know what could have done this except... no, not a shark. There's been a shark in these waters in 50 years. It's impossible. The shark! The biggest one I've ever seen. He's going under the boat. Oh my God, Chief, what do we do? We're kind of stuck here.
Stay calm. Try the grenade launcher. Over.
What? You mean these things are loaded? I thought they were just props. Shoot. All right, folks, come on down. Come on this way. We're going to go into this boathouse until the Chief Brody comes in. Follow me on this way. Come. All right, we're going to drive through here. All right, everybody stay calm. Kids, don't cry now. You don't want to make me upset. I don't like when kids cry. All right, I'm going to hang by the boathouse here. What was that? Y'all say anything? I don't know what this is, but it's giving me the creeps. We're out of here. The gear won't shift. Come on, this isn't funny. I hate when this happens in horror movies. They're so predictable. Come on. All right, we're getting out of here. Let's go. Hurry up. All right, let's go. We're getting out of here. The doors are opening. Oh. Look out! Ah! Oh, boy. Everybody okay?
This is Chief Brody. I'm on my way. I'll be there in 10 minutes.
10 minutes? Will he shark bait 10 minutes? All right, where is he? I don't see him. Ah! Oh, this is bad. Oh, this is really bad. All right, I'm gonna drive us through. Should we go for it? All right, hold on. Is everybody okay? Alright, everybody stay calm. That big boy's gonna come in. The Marines are coming in at any moment. I'm gonna have you all dock off at this electric dock here. Watch your step. There's wires. You could get electrocuted. You've seen those Canadian PSAs. They are not fun at all. Oh no. Look! That thing is disgusting. We really roasted him. He's fried sushi, I'll tell you that. Whoa! Oh man, what a day!
Hey, what was that? Where the heck are you? This is Brody. Are you all right?
Chief, call off the Marines. Everything's okay. That bad shark is out of here, because guess what? We're coming home! Oh, man. That was exciting, wasn't it, folks? Not my typical day on Amity Boat Tours, I assure you, not since Mayor Vaughn. All right, well, let's keep this between us, all right? Because I don't want the chief on my ass or none of the Marines coming in. Anyway, exit to your right this way, folks. Keep your hands, arms, and make sure you pack all your personal belongings, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day at Amity and at Universal Studios Florida. Oh, I need a moment. I need a beer. Quick!
Did he just forget his meds? Oh, I don't know. But anyways, I hope you all enjoyed Jaws Week. I had an absolute fun making it. Big shout out to everybody involved in the entire production. This is something I've been wanting to do for a really long time. Jaws is my favorite movie of all time. It's the big 50th anniversary, and what better way to celebrate my favorite film of all time than covering all things Jaws, from movies, books, video games, board games, pretty much anything you can think of, and even Jaws the Ride is a nice little bonus at the end. And while I've never been on the ride myself, I appreciate Jack going off his meds and giving me the entire tour. So yeah, well, thanks so much for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. As always, take care now, bye-bye then, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.